wanna know what this sound like when I'm not on drugs. Please, please don't play this song.
I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are BIMTV Velocities in Music. Today, folks, we're going to do Kid Cudi's 2010 album, The Man on the Moon 2, The Legend of Mr. Rager. Now, I'm just going to turn this to Tom because he liked this album a whole lot.
I loved this album, and I have to give a shout out to, like, Maddie and Sam and Marcus and Ryan, who've been bugging me to listen to Kid Cudi for months and months and months and months, and I've just kind of been like, eh. Actually, specifically, Marcus Kiner and Ian Anderson asked us to please review his first album before we did this one.
Which we'll do.
It was a little too late for that, but I did give his first album, a listen beforehand. And the difference is, I could tell, is this seemed even darker and moodier. Whereas it seems like Kid Cudi has always been focused on mood in his rap. This is like to the nth degree, and I loved that. And I especially loved it because on this album, you don't get a bit of ego.
Right.
You don't get Kid Cudi talking about how big his dick is,
right,
or how many bitches he's banged,
right,
or anything like that.
And that's congruent with almost everything that Kid Cudi will write about himself. If you go, we have his MySpace link down there. Check it out. Go to his MySpace profile. It actually shows a written message or written biography about Kid Cudi, to where he's just saying, I'm straight up. And that's something that's in hip hop anyways that you just don't see. It's so original. It's
so refreshing these days. And honestly, what this album for that reason reminds me a lot of is like early Bone Thugs. Right. Bone Thugs and Harmony, one of my favorite rap groups, because they were able to have a variety of moods ranging from upbeat and happy to kind of low and somber, while never just completely pimping themselves out. You know. And that's what I get out of this. Plus, just a lot of the songwriting is so great. The beats are very, you know, they're not like the big just synth layers that if you've seen this before, you know I hate.
Production is a sure highlight.
Production is great. It reminds me a lot of the mood of Drake, only thicker, a little more beat-oriented, rather than getting lost in the ambient nature of the music.
With better songwriting and better song structures.
Yeah.
I mean, nowhere here do you get that ABAB format. Oh, maybe on one song, but we'll talk about that later.
But it just, honestly, I look at these and there's just so many strong songs on here. Now, it is 17 tracks. And
it's long.
It's I think a little over an hour.
Yep.
And I think that it would have been a little stronger if he had trimmed the fat a little bit. There could have been a few tracks that he could have cut off, and I think that it would have made, you know, this album a little shorter but more dense with quality. But still, I just love this album. I just love Kid Cudi's lyrical flow. I think he's got really good rhythm, really good attitude to him. This is just something that I find myself wanting to listen to. So many hooks that get stuck in my head that just won't get out of my head.
Right.
At the same time, though, I want to make a point that I wasn't too into this album the first time I listened to it. Kind of in the same way that I wasn't too into Drake the first time I listened to it, which actually I like this way better than Drake.
I do too, actually.
But I think that you get that with this kind of moody rap that it's hard to latch on to at first, but once you, as he would say, get lost in the mother bleeping mood, then there you go. And it sucks you in, and it's so alluring, and you get to know the songwriting, and it's really good.
Now, I listened to this 7 times, and I never latched onto it quite as much as it sounds like Tom did. I still think this is a very strong album. There are a couple of issues that I have with it. The length, I think it's a lot to take in. And I have no problem with long albums. The issue I have is I always look for justification for the album length. And here I get a lot of atmosphere and a lot of mood, and I love that. And I think that this is a really good album. I mean, I was super excited to see this, Tom, or to listen to this because, you know, Kid Cudi and Kanye are friends, and after how awesome I thought My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was, I was excited to see what the other side of the friendship can do. So, and I was pleasantly surprised and pleased by all that. Now, what I didn't like is I felt like none of these songs really reach a climax. There's never any intensity builds and crescendos and decrescendos. It never happens throughout the album. Even the whole album is just kind of this one long, drawn-out, moody experience, which that's cool, but it's really long for something like that.
That's a good point. There's not too many highs and lows.
Right, and that's something that I feel like it just gets a little taxing after a while. Also, my other issue is the track that actually features Kanye, track 8, Erase Me, which I know Tom likes. I didn't like that song because it's a rock song in the middle of a hip-hop, moody hip-hop album, and it's an upbeat, kind of Weezer-esque rock song. And the problem is that it's just an A-B kind of just run-of-the-mill, just chug-along rock song. And I think a lot of people like that just because it's refreshing. It's one of the most refreshing points on the album because it's in the middle of this moody hip-hop album. I don't think it fits. I think that the song is lackluster, personally. I just think it's a generic... I think Weezer's pretty cliche at this point. I mean, bands referencing Weezer, everyone's doing it. So what makes you special for doing it too? And I just didn't feel it. And since it's in the middle of the album, I feel like that just makes me want to skip it. So that and the lack of climax kind of pushed this into the upper 70s. But that's what I mean to say by all that, is that this is still really, really good. And you should still check this out, because rap, when you have an honest hip-hop artist, good songwriting, good song structures, good delivery style, I mean, everything, all the pieces are here for Kid Cudi to make a really awesome album. I have a couple gripes about it. That doesn't mean that this isn't good.
Yeah. I feel like this is a very underrated rap album
I do too.
Of 2010. I
think it's getting low scores out there, and I feel like reviewers need to step it up, because this is good stuff.
I think that this is where I would like to see hip-hop going. Back to that, like I was saying, kind of Bone Thugs and Harmony thing, where you get those sung vocal parts that actually work, and they work towards the hooks, so the hooks aren't just someone rapping fast all the time. There's a good mix of that.
There's also not too many guest appearances on here.
No, there are a few, and I think that the few that are on here are actually pretty good. Yeah.
They're strong. But obviously the focus is on Kid Cudi himself, and that's something that's really cool, and because rap music is kind of weird in how it features the other artists, because it's all about the strategy. Is it going to focus on the main person, or is it going to be more of a conglomeration? This is definitely one of those main persons.
And I love a hip-hop artist that's willing to conceptualize his albums and even his discography. This is the sequel to his debut album. His debut album had like 4 tracks that ended with the word nightmare in parentheses. And he talks about nightmares on here. The album's broken up into like acts and scenes. It's supposed to move along and tell this story about Mr. Rager. And you know, we're running out of time, can't really get too deep into that. We'd rather talk about the music, but that's still something that I love, when an artist can make multiple layers of their own music so that you can enjoy the music on surface level, but if you want to look deeper and dig deeper into that conceptualization of the music, you can, and it makes you enjoy it on a whole nother level.
Lets the mavens kind of take over.
Exactly.
What do you guys think about this? Do you think that Kid Cudi's a little underappreciated? Did you like this album? Tell us why, and leave us a comment. I'm Jake. Oh yeah, you know, scoring this would be good. Tom, where do you feel?
I'm going 88. I liked it right on the same level as Kanye, only for different reasons.
I think this is very strong. I think it's a 78 though, which is it's on the cusp of just being awesome. So overall, I think this is definitely a highly recommended album at VIMTV. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, moving music critique forward.